Hey y'all, my name is Jasmine Jones. I'm a licensed therapist and welcome to Black Girl, a Therapist in the Wild. Today we are going to be talking about how privilege and its societal kind of built up monolith can affect mental health and especially trauma. So stay tuned. So when it comes to privilege, a lot of times people don't realize that they're privileged because in reality, privilege is not something that we create for ourselves. Privilege are the ideals and stereotypes that others put on us. It's how others view us. So basically, if person A grows up in a family that, has racist ideals against black people or anybody that's not white or something like that, and this is how they grew up, this is where they learned their racial biases from, and basically their family is where they learned about the world from, pretty much, because your parents are the people that raise you are going to be the first people that you learn to socialize from, and how to socialize with other people. When you start going to school, well, this is how I talk to my mom, or this is how I talk to my siblings at home. These are the things that they taught me there, so I'm going to take that to school, on my first day of kinder or preschool or first grade or something like that. So person A is raised in a racially, racist home. There you go. Racist home. And then person B is raised mainly in a very diverse area, goes to very diverse schools, can kind of think outside the box, understand, other people's perspectives, because not only was it in their family, but it was in the school. Person A didn't have that. Person A grew up in a small town, did not have variations of, different ethnicities in their town, and so on and so forth. So person A grows up to work at Target or some store or something like that. Person A is working at the store, and person B, along with another person, person C. So person B is black, person C is white. They both come into the store. It doesn't matter how they consider their own lives, person B or person C. All that matters in this point in time is how person A views these two people in their store. So if you grew up with racial biases, you are going to automatically treat the black person worse than you would the white person that walks into your store. You are going to, allow privileges for the white person because you were not raised in an environment that told you that, people are individuals, and all individuals have the potential to steal or wreak havoc. It doesn't matter what color or creed or whatever they are. All that matters is that they're individuals with their own minds and bodies. So, you follow the black person around the store while ignoring the white person that's in the store. You might question the black person. Person A might question the black person, and so on and so forth, while the white person gets to walk around the store freely. So that's why privilege is so insidious, because it's not based off of who you are as a person or how you see yourself individually or anything that you might have actually been through in real life. You hear all these people talking about, well, I struggle too, and I've been through, when it comes to like racial privileges and things that different ethnicities have to go through, when in comparison to the larger majority ethnicity, white people, basically you hear like a lot of white people say, well, I've been through things too, and I've been poor, and I don't understand this privilege that when I also struggle. But the missing piece here is that it doesn't matter how you feel about yourself. All that matters is how other people feel when they see you, and how much power those other people have over you, you know. And you know, it can go into any factor. It can go into economic status. If you dress in a certain way where people perceive that you might have money, in their mind you have money, in their minds they're going to treat you a certain type of way because that's how they were raised, and that's how life has taught them to treat people who they think have money. You know, in reality, you could be broke as a joke. You just got some nice clothes because, you know, this is your nice outfit. It could be a Sunday. You just came from church with your church clothes on or something. You know, it doesn't really matter. But to them, because you have nice clothes, that's how they're going to perceive you. With colorism, you know, in the Black community, in various communities, various Asian countries, India in particular, and East Asian countries as well, there is a sense that lighter is better, darker is not. And it is perpetuated in media and in social stereotypes, basically, of why we putting people of lighter skin tones on a pedestal in movies and, you know, shows on television, in magazines, and then putting people of a darker skin tone on a lower pedestal. And a lot of these things are based off of whoever runs that media outlet, whoever runs that show, whoever runs the you know, the magazine that you're reading that day, you know, whoever runs it, deciding that these are the type of models that people want to see. You know what I mean? So it's based off of an individual's perception of what is good and what is bad in the world, and not necessarily off of how the person who is being stereotyped and put into a box feels about it. You know, there's privilege where it can backfire to where, you know, there's the stereotypical privilege around Asian people, you know, East Asian people in particular, that they're very smart, and you know, we need them to calculate things and stuff like that. That's the stereotype. But at the same time, you know, they are seen as weak men sexually, or, you know, what other stereotype is it? It's kind of like you have these stereotypes that can be positive. The privilege for the person can be, like, if you're lighter skinned, the privilege is a positive thing, but it can backfire on you because all people see you as is that particular privilege. You're light skinned, so you're better, so I'm going to treat you that way, as long as, you know, because that's my ideal of you. I don't see you as a real person. You know, you're Asian, so you're smart, so you can help me with my work, and that's the box I'm going to put you in. But as soon as you tell me no, or as soon as you get fed up, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, the ideal of that person falls apart. So privilege can backfire in that it places you in such a strict box that once the ideal of who those people think you are falls apart, you know, then that's where chaos comes in. So, you know, either it can be a positive chaos where, you know, the ideals about, you know, darker skinned people, especially darker skinned women, falling apart, and darker skinned women are being more recognized. They're asserting themselves more and having this conversation and having this disruption of what the social norm was. And then you have where it can backfire. You know, the Asian guy says, no, I don't want to help you with your homework or whatever, just because you think I have some kind of genius thing going on because of this stereotype. And, you know, the people that he's saying no to doesn't like it, and he could end up hurt. Same with, you know, so there's extremes to these things. Like, it could, you speak up, you reach out, you say that I don't want to be in this box anymore, and you get enough people behind you, and then eventually people start to hear you, and people start, the stereotypes reverse, or you stay in that box and somebody hurts you because you dare to go against the belief that they have in their mind. And when I say somebody and them and they, I mean like it could be anybody that has some kind of power over you in some way, basically. So it could be a significant other. You know, you're in a relationship and this person is with you because you're light skinned, and light skin has all these connotations to it, gentle and sweet and kind. And as soon as you know, pop off and get mad about something or have something to say or assert yourself, then the person that you're in a relationship with, it might hurt you, might yell at you, might, because their ideals of who they think you are have fallen apart, you know. So the main thing here is remembering that privilege comes from how other people see you, and it affects you depending on how much power that other person has over you. Now it can affect you slightly. Let's say, you know, you're walking down the street and some person starts saying derogatory words at you. Yes, it can affect you, but in the larger societal scheme, this is where we want to focus on, because that's where the majority of people are affected, you know, financially, emotionally, in a lot of relationships, the media, things like that, emotional relationships, you know, getting a loan for a house or going on a trip on an airplane, things like that. So recognizing that the more power a person has over you, either it could be the cashier at the grocery store, you know, or your supervisor at work, the more they can inflict their biases on you, you know. So it's their biases. So let's talk about how this can affect a person's mental health, and you know, especially if you've experienced trauma. So how these biases can affect you when you have different mental health illnesses. The hallmark of a mental health illness is speaking negatively to yourself. That is the hallmark of a mental health illness, is having negative thoughts about yourself. Negative thoughts can lead to anxiety. Negative thoughts can lead to depression, or you're repeating negative thoughts that you heard when you were going through a specific period of trauma when you were younger. So when you have these negative thoughts, you know, it almost becomes like people are like, these negative thoughts are right every time you are treated a certain way in society. So you skim through a magazine as a dark-skinned woman and you see only lighter skin or white women or lighter, you know, Latin or Asian women, but you don't see anyone that looks like you. Then all those negative thoughts that you have that fuel your depression, the negative thoughts that are repeated from your past history of trauma, it's almost like it's what is the word? I totally forgot the word. It's right. Like, okay, here's the evidence for my negative thoughts. So obviously the world must really hate me, because how I feel about myself has also been personified in this thing I'm looking at, or these relationships that I'm having, or every time I walk into the grocery store, someone is looking at me like I'm trying to steal something, or my friends always want me to do their homework because they think I'm really smart, but you know, I'm smart, but you know, it's not, has nothing to do with a stereotype, you know, or you know, you look poor, so people, you know, treat you like you're dirty, or there's something wrong with you. So obviously, since people treat me this way, then I must be this way. So that's how you start to internalize those negative interactions that you're experiencing on a daily basis. The negative societal things in media where you never see yourself, so you feel, or you see yourself in negative connotations, so you feel like, well, then that must be right. You know, all these bad things I feel about myself must be right because there's the evidence, there's the proof that there's something wrong with me, and you internalize it. And then a lot of people will then take what they've internalized on top of whatever they've been through and their own individual thoughts that are organically theirs, and it piles into this amalgamation of self-hatred. Don't let them have kids. Then there's a possibility that they'll put that self-hatred on their kids. Like, this is how the world is. Obviously, this is the evidence, because this is how the majority of other people think about me and treat me on a regular basis, are people that look like me or act like me. So obviously that means that, I'm trash, and that's why privilege is so insidious, because it sneaks in on you. You start to notice these things that no one else really seems to notice unless they happen to look like you or act like you or come from the same place as you. And then you start to feel like, well, there must be something wrong with me. It's like you start self-sabotaging yourself after a while, because you feel like this is real life. This is how things are in the world, and there's nothing I can do about it. So it can fuel depression, because now it's harder to help people recognize that they have an individual self, and they don't have to listen to or follow what they perceive in society. They don't have to, be told that they're not good enough, and that these people over here have this specific privilege because maybe they look a certain way or they act a certain way, while I'm over here just nothing, obviously, because I'm treated in a negative way, while these people with this privilege over here, in reality, the privilege is not a good thing. The privilege is putting those people in a box too, that either makes them blind to other people's pain or shocks them out of the box, where when they try to be themselves or be who they feel they are around people that, don't see them as that. They see them as the stereotype. So sometimes privilege can be taken and internalized in a way where you don't see the pain you're causing others, and you self-sabotage and agree with your privilege. Like, there are light-skinned people or white people, or, the colorism spectrum. There's people in the lighter end of the colorism spectrum where they agree when people start talking down on darker skinned people, or they laugh when people start talking down on darker skinned people, or they initiate talking down on darker skinned people, because they've taken in all of this negative things that put people beneath them and elevate them up in their eyes. So they're elevated while darker skinned people are beneath them, and they're told this on a regular basis to the point where they believe it. They believe, that darker skinned people are just complaining and whining, and there's nothing to, there's no reason for them to be saying these things. They believe that they are prettier. I'm not saying all, but some believe they're prettier because they're lighter skinned and things like that. Instead of looking at it as we're all people and we all should, love ourselves and care about ourselves, and no one's better than the other. We're just doing our best out here, But it takes time, and it takes untying those knots when we recognize that we all have certain privileges, and we all are seen in certain ways by people. And every time we're seen in a more positive light, someone is being pushed down in a negative light. And then really sitting back and being mindful of, how am I being seen right now? What kind of positive light am I being seen under? And is anybody being pushed down in order for me to be in this positive light? Is anybody around me in my vicinity? Are they low-key saying, underhanded things, about others while they're, pushing me up? Excuse me. I've had times where people get really just like, oh my gosh, you went to college, you did this, you did that. And I'm like, okay, well, That's great. You can do this. Everyone can do it. It's not some special level that you get to, you know. It's just something that if you want it, you can do it, and if you don't want it and you want to go another route, it's okay. You know. So recognizing that, you know, and I find that with compliments too, when people compliment me, sometimes you can tell that it feels like they feel bad, or they feel, I don't want to say jealous, because I don't want to seem like, you know, I'm on any kind of pedestal or anything, but more so like they're looking at your accomplishments and they're feeling bad about themselves. And you can kind of tell. I had that experience once when I went out with a friend of mine, and I was in the bathroom waiting for them to be done. And this girl walks up to me, and then she just keeps going over and over, "You're so pretty. You're so pretty. I wish we all could be lucky like that." And I was just like, what? I was just like, "You're pretty too. We're all pretty." And she goes, no, I'm not pretty. And I'm just like, and it's like, I don't feel comfortable making people feel that way just to feel uplifted. You know, that's where I'm coming from with this. It's like, do you feel comfortable knowing that in order for you to be uplifted in a certain way that may not be okay, or may be stereotypical, or may put you in a box, someone else has to be pushed down, you know, or treated in a messed up way? And then that's something that I really had to think about when it came to my accomplishments and things that I'm proud of. It's not that I'm not proud of the things that are positive in my life. It's more so knowing who I'm talking to, how they're responding. So being mindful, how are they responding to my positive sides, my accomplishments? You know, are they responding from a genuine place? Or are they responding from a place of being sad about it, or needing to put others down in order to feel like they've responded in a positive way to me? Or, you know, so know what your privileges are. Know what the stereotypes are around you, whether they're positive or negative. And notice if people around you are genuinely complimenting you and hyping you up, if you're genuinely complimenting yourself and hyping yourself up, or is it coming from a place of needing to put others down, or not caring that others are pushed down so that you can shine? You know, and then understanding how that can affect people's emotions, how that can affect people that have experienced traumas before, especially consistent traumas where, you know, with abuse, you're told every day that you're trash. So when you open a magazine and you don't see yourself, or you watch 10 movies in a row and you never see yourself, you know, it's like, okay, every time you go into the store, you're followed around. You know, even though you've been to that store like at least once a week for the past 7 years, and someone still needs to follow you around, but doesn't follow anyone else around as long as they don't look like you. You know, it's like, and then notice when those passive moments are coming up, you know, where you might be the person in the store that isn't being followed around, but someone else is. And they aren't doing anything wrong. They're just shopping like you. But maybe in general, you wouldn't notice that. You know, you would just keep shopping and not pay attention. Be more mindful. You know, even in those moments of, you know, head in the clouds, I'm just shopping, I'm not paying attention to things. You know, being mindful of what's going on around you as much as you can. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of arguing someone else's experience? You know, and instead of like arguing, validate. I would just validate their experience. Okay, so you experienced something that I didn't experience, and, you know, next time I'll be more mindful of, you know, what's going on around me, so that I can see what's happening. And I can know what's happening, and I can know that, you know, decide for myself, should I go help this person? Should I just keep an eye out just to make sure that they're okay? You know, things like that. So be a witness to other people's plights, you know. at the very least, to be a witness, to say that I was there, I saw what happened, this person did nothing wrong, you know, they just were living and surviving and going through life, so that we can all start to have those moments in life where our emotions and our feelings are validated. And, you know, we can stop this cycle of society and the media invalidating, you know, how we really feel inside. So that, you know, it is an individual thing too. We still have to work on ourselves, but at the same time, we can still say, you know, okay, I've worked on myself. How can I help someone else? You know, because we all need each other, you know, and that is for the ones that have a great amount of privilege, or the ones that don't have a great amount of privilege. We're all stuck in these boxes of either I have little privilege, I can't leave the house without problems, I can't get, you know, go past the police without problems, you know, I can't get in a good relationship because, you know, people have these, you know, preferences and things, and I'm just like, am I ugly? You know, I can't get my work done because people feel like I need to help them with their work. And then you have the people over here where, you know, I can leave my house. That's a privilege. I can go walk past a police officer without having damn near a panic attack. That's a privilege. I can walk around the grocery store without somebody following me around. That's a privilege. I don't have that much trouble in the dating field, but people constantly comment on how loose my hair curl is, my hair texture is, or how light my skin is, and they say it as a compliment. You know, that's a privilege. All these things are privileges, and just recognizing them will go so far in everyone learning how to be mindful and heal themselves, you know. So I hope this made sense. You know, I want people to start learning how to be more aware of how they affect others. And it's not even in a sense of, well, I have to live my life for other people's traumas, because everyone needs to be working on themselves, but more so, if you see something, if you witness something, if you're listening to someone else tell their story, at the very least, validate their experience. Be able to do that. Be able to do that much. Like, okay, I don't understand your experience. I've never been in your experience. Like, I will never understand what a transgender person has to go through. You know, I will never be in those shoes to experience all of the transphobia and, you know, the relational things that come up and body image things. And it's a privilege for me to feel like at home in my body. You know, that is a privilege for me. But even though, you know, it's a privilege, I don't invalidate someone else's experience and say, well, that's not real. I feel at home in my body. So obviously you're just lying because I feel, you know, like, no, I'm like, everyone has their own experiences, and I can't say, oh, well, because I feel a certain thing and I've experienced a certain thing, then everything else that everyone else has gone through isn't true, or it doesn't matter, or it doesn't affect them. You don't know their lives. You don't know people's lives. You don't know what kind of traumas they've experienced and things they've gone through and pain they've had in their life. And then someone comes along and, you know, basically treats them like more trash, while someone else over here is all privileged up and, you know, happy and everything's great for them. And then when you try to reach out to the privileged up person, you know, they're just looking at you like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that doesn't happen. You're just being a baby. Like, no, you know, either be quiet or validate. I mean, if I don't agree with something, I am the first to just not say anything, you know, because at the end of the day, there's certain arguments that I don't think are necessary. If I don't agree with something, if I don't know the experience of something, I'm just not going to say anything. It is what it is. I'm just going to be like, you know what? I know nothing about this experience. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you about your life. This is your life. God bless. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and there's not that much that I don't agree with. Well, there are a couple things that I'm just not going to be okay with, like rape or child molesters. Like, no, I don't agree with your experience, and I'm going to say it loud and proud. But that's because you're hurting people. Like, if it's something that involves hurting people, then I'm going to have something to say about your life and your experiences, and how can we make it so that you don't hurt people. But otherwise, it's like, as long as you're not hurting people and you're living, I don't really have any kind of biases that much towards people. I'm just kind of like, that's not my life. I'm not living that life. So it's none of my business. But I don't know, how did we go? I went off on a tangent. But yeah, it's privileges are hurtful to people, whether they're a positive privilege or the negative stereotypical result of a privilege. It's horrible. It's hurtful. It hurts people's feelings. I always say that. I'm like, hurts my feelings. It hurts people's feelings. It's like, and then people want to act like, oh, well, I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't happen. Like, how do you know that doesn't happen? You don't live that person's life. You don't live that person's life. How can you tell them that they didn't experience what they experienced and it didn't affect them emotionally like it affected them? You don't know how many traumas and times they've experienced this thing throughout the day, these microaggressions and outright overt racism, and and then to tell them, just because people never try to touch your hair, or just because people never try to call you the N-word when you walk down the street, or any other kind of racial slur, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect people. I mean, if you hear the same thing over and over again since childhood, and don't let it have been traveled throughout your family, those trauma cycles, so your family's cycling through this, so you grew up with it in the home, you grew up with it in school, you grew up with it on the street, you grew up with it at work. It's like, it's a constant aggression. It's not even micro, it's a constant aggression that you're feeling from society based off of these privileges and stereotypes that just circle around, and then you're blamed for when you bring up the fact that other people are privileged. And it's like, why are you blaming me for the fact that this thing doesn't happen to you? I'm just telling you that it doesn't happen to you, and I'm just telling you how it affects me. But yeah, so I'm back. I slowly am moving back into making videos. I mean, it's only been a week, but still, last time I made a video, I was super depressed. I'm not as depressed, but it's lingering. The sun's coming out more, so it's helping. I enjoy the sunshine. I need to get one of those sun lamps, but I looked online and I was like, do I want to spend almost $200 on a lamp that's this big? I just don't feel like I should, but we shall see. But yeah, sunshine helps. It boosts serotonin levels. A lot of things boost serotonin levels. Exercising, sunshine, what else? Well, maybe a few things. But yeah, so I should be back to posting every week, and I think next I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna do a movie review again on A Fall from Grace. That should be fun. And yeah, so I hope everyone had a great weekend. It's Sunday night, so I can say that. I hope everyone had a great weekend, and as Tino says, later days.